Hey everyone, Ryan here, or MandRproductions, and welcome to my review of the LEGO Star Wars Summer 2021, set number 75315, Imperial Light Cruiser, also known as Moff Gideon's Cruiser. It has 1,336 pieces, 6 minifigs, and in the United States, retails for $160. The box art features the Mandalorian on the top right, white greebling throughout the rest of the border for the art. And then we have the 6 minifigs down below. Of course, we'll take a closer look at them here momentarily. And then, of course, Moff Gideon's Cruiser cruising through space. I think this box art looks phenomenal. I think that this dark, deep, bluish purple for the space color here behind the cruiser looks spectacular, and it really contrasts well with the white borders. So as far as the box art goes on this set, they have done an excellent job, and it's always great to see the side box art, which is something that I personally find important, so having that there is very nice as well. The back of the box is going to give you the rest of the features of the set, including the ability to open up the cruiser for an interior space, and then we have the Dark Trooper, Cara Dune, and Fennec Shand on the outside. You can see some of the feature sets just kind of boxed up there for the set, which we'll take a look at during the review as well. First, let's take a close look at the figures. Our first character up is Grogu, and this is actually the first set that LEGO on the box is officially calling him Grogu. They have obviously previously called him the Child, and I will affectionately call him Baby Yoda. And they use the normal LEGO baby torso piece as the Baby Yoda piece, although I think that there could certainly be a better mold devised for the rest of his body. I think it looks a little bit awkward as it is, but it's effective enough, and I think most people really like the way this character has turned out thus far, although in the future I wouldn't mind an update if you get what I'm saying. Anyway, the head for him is molded in rubber, so you don't have to worry about like his ears breaking off or anything unless you really came in and actually cut them off, and the head can turn about the neck there. So really nice character, maybe a bit chunky in the middle, but nonetheless something that I think a lot of people like, although he does come in much cheaper sets. You'll be getting one here if you don't already have one. Our next character up is the Mandalorian, whose helmet print on mine unfortunately is a little bit lower than it really should be, although maybe yours will end up being better, and certainly I've had better experiences in the past. The rest of the figure, though, is spectacular looking. He's got the Mudhorn insignia print. We've seen that before in the $30 Trouble on Tatooine set, but again, this is the same character here. Excellent, excellent printing. Very dense, very detailed. Got the wrist rocket launcher on his left wrist. Everything about it looks just spectacular, and then, of course, he's got his Beskar spear, and he's got his rifle, so both weapons included in this set, alongside a cape, which, if we move, we will actually be able to see a nice back print, and the back print comes standard, so even though the cape covers it up, it's going to be there. And then kind of the most disappointing thing, I think, coming into summer of 2021 for some people, myself included, is the continuation of the black head for Din Djarin. They have revealed what the Mandalorian looks like, and so this to me really signals that LEGO is not going to make a face for him for whatever reason. I'm not really sure. Now, there are pros to having a black head, such that underneath the helmet, you just see black like you would in the show. Since he has some clothing covering his neck anyway, it does look rather fine like that. I'm just saying there's no face underneath, and some people will be a little disappointed to find that that is continuing on here through the summer of 2021. Next up is Cara Dune, a character both returning from the 75254 AT-ST Raider, and one that many people thought might not make it into the final version of this set, given that the actor that plays Cara Dune was canned from The Mandalorian in early 2021. Fortunately or unfortunately, hard to say for everyone's preference, but I think it's a good thing to have her here for her part in the story. She did make it into the final set. She does have the little rebel teardrop on her left eye. She's got a really fierce face, really nice hairpiece, same hairpiece, like I said, from 2019. Same exact print and legs. So if you have that 2019 AT-ST Raider, you're already covered. She does have a second facial expression that looks like that, so you do get two things there, and of course her rifle has the extra lightsaber hilt on the end. The next three figures may quite possibly make the set for a lot of people, and I think they are awesome brand new minifigures. First off here, though, Fennec Shand, of course, introduced in with the Mandalorian, making her way into a Mandalorian Lego set for the first time. Looks incredible. She's got a brand new helmet mold that you can barely see her eyes through, but you can see her eyes nonetheless. That's good. And while I thought maybe at first it was going to be a dual molded helmet, it's actually printed on there. That black is just kind of like printed, painted on there, and it looks really good. It looks like a dual mold, but it's actually not. Let me pull it off and just show you a little bit better. If it was dual molded, you would actually actually see black on the inside too. The back print is detailed enough, but I think for a lot of people, a highlight of this figure is going to be the arm printing. Her left arm just has a few stripes, and the right arm is a bit more detailed with what looks like an elbow pad as well. Her rifle is just like Cara Dune's with an extra lightsaber hilt on the end, and she's a really nice torso print, waist print, and leg print with her waist cape wrapping down to her legs, but unfortunately no side leg print to continue that. That would have been really nice from Lego here, or the actual waist cape piece would have been really nice, because in this set, unlike other sets where they've gone and printed the waist cape instead of actually producing a physical one, she doesn't need to be sitting down anywhere. There's no actual real reason to not have it here, so it's kind of a shame that it's not here. I really don't understand the rationale there to not include it. I think it would have looked really good with that added on. Now, she does also have a couple of faces underneath the helmet. Unfortunately for her, no hairpiece included. I think it would have gone really well, especially given that she does have the full faces there and you can't see them under the helmet, but she does have two expressions, which seems rather useless to me given she has no hairpiece and you can't see them under the helmet. So a little confusing there from Lego, some mixed signals, but nonetheless an excellent character and one that a lot of people are going to be excited to get. Moff Gideon is another very anticipated character for this set, and I think the first thing we'll talk about is his cape. It's a dual-sided cape. We got black on the back, dark red on the front, very accurate to what we see in the Mandalorian, and that is awesome to see. I think Lego knocked it out of the park with the cape. The torso print is also really good, and he didn't really need a leg print, so there isn't a leg print here. That's fine. His face print looks good enough. I think it accurately represents him, and he's got the slicked back black hair, and he does have a second face. Much like my Mandalorian helmet, the print does seem to be a bit low for his face here, but he looks angry. I don't think this one looks better than the other one. I would rather keep it on the other one. I think that looks more like Moff Gideon, but nonetheless, a good-looking character. Obviously, the big detractor on this one, though, is going to be that darksaber that he's holding. The LEGO group really should have made a brand new darksaber mold for this set. It's something that's been showing up in Star Wars media for a decade, and will show up for a long time to come. It's been getting a lot of mentions, so it's really unfortunate that they're still using lightsaber hilt, which is just plain inaccurate, and of course the lightsaber blade, which is also plain inaccurate in black. I mean, this is good for what exists, but they really should have made a new mold, and I'm gonna die on that hill. We need a new mold for the darksaber. It would look so good with something new and fresh, but this is what we've got right now as it stands. The final minifigure in this set is one that I really think there should have been a second one of included. There are a ton of them in the scene, and getting two here would have really been more appropriate than just one. It would have been more interesting for the Mandalorian, especially for play as well for kids, to have two Dark Troopers to go up against. So to me, it's a bit of a shame that we only got one, but let's talk about the actual character and the merits of the looks of the thing. So when I first saw the Dark Trooper and I really was praying Lego would bring it into this set, I wasn't sure if they were going to do a brand new mold for the entire thing. Basically, I'm thinking like Super Battle Droid style where you have, custom legs, custom torso, custom arms, and a custom head or whatever. And I kind of thought that was the way that this should go. However, I have since changed my mind. I've taken another look at the Dark Trooper, and they look very humanoid, much like a character like Moff Gideon or whatever, obviously. And so the Lego minifigure, obviously made to represent a humanoid type thing, makes a lot of sense. And I think the print accurately represents some of the contours and things on the Dark Trooper. You have like these white spaces, which are supposed to essentially be voids, I think is kind of the idea there, where the Dark Trooper would otherwise have nothing there. It's kind of the idea, I believe. And he's got the big shoulder pad piece. I don't think the studs being on the back is a great look, particularly, especially given that the Dark Trooper is more skinny, but I still think it looks really good. And of course, that helmet mold is spectacular. Now, I thought it was going to be a dual molded helmet with like red molded into it, but the mold for the helmet is actually completely separate. The head underneath looks like that, and it has the red on the eyes there, and then you can see the back print. So they kind of separated it like that in a very interesting way to do the Dark Trooper, and one that I think turned out very well. The rest of the print underneath that armor for the torso looks good, although it's obviously not necessary given that you should have the armor piece on there anyway to make the Dark Trooper look a little bit bigger than the rest of the characters, since the Dark Trooper obviously isn't supposed to be like the exact same size as the Mandalorian. So I think this does a good enough job of making him look bigger, much like they used the same piece on Wrecker from the Bad Batch. It works and it's nice. I, once again, really wish there were just two, but still great figure. Let's talk about the top of the ship first. It is, like I said, very heavy, but you have this opening at the front, which we'll come back around to when we get into the interior, because it actually has a feature to shoot some TIE fighters. On the side, there's a lot of greebling with some nice cannons that can move up and down. All four are the same design, and it is a symmetrical ship, so everything is the same on the left side as it is on the right side. You can see nice greebling, nice detail and whatnot. Very nice piece here on the side that has some cheese slopes. Now, to me, the biggest fault of this set is its cannons, the main cannons on top. If you look at the ship in universe, they are absolutely nowhere near as big as this. These things are ginormous comparatively. And you could certainly modify this for them to be smaller. That's not something I'm personally into, and I'm, of course, rating this set and taking a look at it based on the merits of the way that LEGO made it, so that's what matters. And so, while they are functionally very good, as far as the actual accuracy to the source material, not so much. These things are just massive. So I think the reason that they are massive is so that they could include the functionality. So on the left and the right of the spring-loaded shooters in the middle, you can actually move these up and down. They move independently. I do personally wish they moved together because I don't like when things get out of whack like that. But if you just push them all the way down, they'll be even no matter what. And then, of course, you do have the spring-loaded shooters on either side, which you can shoot off by pushing down on. They work as intended. Always love spring-loaded shooters as a play feature. Hate them as a display feature because they never look good for display, except on those TIE fighters. They tend to look pretty decent up under there. Anyway, they can also turn, so you actually can turn this 360 degrees as you please to shoot. Didn't mean to shoot them. I think the point has been made. They work, they spin, they do cool things, and as a play function, they are really good. They're just way oversized to what is in universe. Anyway, moving towards the bridge of the ship, it is done in stickers, and it's kind of unfortunate. Like, sometimes it just kind of depends on the ship, I guess. But in this particular case, there's no access to the bridge. It's way too small to fit minifigures, not getting anywhere near that functionality. The bridge ends up getting recreated in the midsection of the ship where the interior is, so it's kind of odd in that way, but I think it works because obviously you're going to have a much more spacious space up here than you are up there. Anyway, they use some stickers here, which end up looking pretty good for the bridge windows. I would say not perfect, but good enough and passable in my opinion. And then the bridge also doubles as a handle for the set. Usually handles will be separate and built in, but this time it's just kind of all in one. So you literally just lift it by this, and you can see it give quite a bit there. It has quite a bit of movement to it, which is a little bit scary at first, but it's not really something to worry about. It's very strongly built with Technic in there, so you don't have to worry about it breaking on you. So you can lift it, bring it around, fly it around. You shouldn't have too many issues with that. Down the spine of the ship looks very good, mixed in with some nice dark gray. Some more dark gray greebling here on the backside. On either side of the Imperial Light Cruiser, there are actually TIE fighters docked on the sides. It's really nice. They're just connected by one stud at the back, and you can pull them out with relative ease. These are going to be used at the front of the ship with the TIE fighter launching mechanism, which, like I said, we're going to be getting to, but these do have a printed windshield tile, so that's a really nice thing to have, I think. I think they really should have gone for some thrust on the back instead of gray, although I think gray generally looks better. I think as far as like having something that's like, hey, for kids as a plaything, it looks like it has something coming out the back that's thrust, and they could have just gone with something red, or I think light blue works for the TIE fighters. Not really sure exactly which color they usually use, but that's just something I did notice. The back of the ship where the engines are looks very good as well. It has all three engines accurately placed, and the whole shaping of it I think looks really, really good. They've really accurately recreated it, and I don't really have any complaints about the whole back end with the engines at all. I think it looks spectacular. You can't open this up. There's no like hidden compartment in the back here, where I feel like there actually could have been some space here. There is a little bit of extra space here than there would really be anywhere else throughout the ship other than with the main interior section, but unfortunately they just didn't. Now I do have to say about the bottom of the ship, in universe there are some cannons on the bottom, and the bottom is shaped significantly differently. But what they went for here was a completely flat design, which I think is fine, of course, for a playset. If this were a UCS set, that would be a completely different story. But for this playset, works very well because you need to have it to be able to lay down flat on the table to be able to access the interior and do things with that without it breaking and whatnot. So this works. It's just not quite like it is in universe. Now to access the interior, all you have to do is lift up this whole panel here. So the whole thing can lift up, and it gets lodged back there like so at about a 90-degree angle, just a little bit extra so that it doesn't actually just fall back forward, and it's got a little bit of extra weight on the back so it will hopefully stay back without too much trouble there. You can see the TIE fighter mechanism here at the front, which is what we're going to take a look at first. You can see the brown rod coming through, and you kind of get the idea that we're going to be able to push some TIE fighters out. So you can see the piece you're supposed to push in here, that's going to push the TIE fighter out, of course, and so all you have to do is load a TIE fighter into the front of the Gideon's cruiser like so, just facing forward, and he will ride along the rails here essentially. And so all you really have to do, like I said, is push in on this, and the TIE Fighter comes flying out. They don't go very far. I mean, I would say they barely get out of here before they start falling down. Of course, they basically run the rails and then fall down. I mean, that's basically all it can do. You can't really get a lot of power into this, unfortunately, either. I have tried, and I just can't get it to go too far. So while I like it as a play feature, I think it does find itself as something that is unfortunately lacking, mostly because you can't use it without having the interior open. If you had like a lever on the side or some type of like spring-loaded shooter functionality that allowed it to be shot out while this thing was flying with the lid closed, it would look so much cooler to me. But because you have to open this, it kind of ruins the immersion, you know, if you want to get into that whole conversation. So, like, I really like the feature. I think it's a brilliant feature, and it's something I definitely wanted them to bring into the set. I just don't love that you have to have this open to do it. Because imagine flying this ship around as a kid and just launching your TIE Fighters at will without having to stop, put it down, open it up, put a TIE Fighter in, stuff like that. So, you know, it's a great feature. It works really well. That's just my one qualm with it. For the interior of this set, it represents the bridge, and obviously it's not actually found in the bridge. It's like the belly of the ship. So it's a little bit of an odd placement for the bridge, but it's supposed to be the bridge. That's kind of the point of it, and I think this works. It's fine. But as far as the details that the bridge has, it's got the whole table here with some nice white line stickers and everything. I would have much preferred a hologram to a coffee cup. I think that having the hologram of Moff Gideon and the Mandalorian would have looked so much better there. I don't know how they could have done it, but I wish they could have done it, most certainly. But of course we get a coffee cup, which is, I guess, like a cool thing for, like, it's a nice detail, whatever, but it's not like accurate or anything. So kind of a bummer there. Would have loved a hologram. A nice other control panel in there, and you're going to see the same one printed on the other side here, exactly the same. So then we have a couple more control panels here, just of course being the bridge. You're gonna have lots of control panels. We've got another one here, which is of course another new sticker. Nothing in particular there of note. Flipping it around, you'll see another copy of that sticker. So also on the inside is a couple of bins. On the left, we have a bin which holds a thermal detonator, and on the right, we have another bin which holds a pair of binoculars. So both of those are nice accessories for your characters. Not something I'll personally be playing with, but for kids, certainly a nice addition. Above all that, you actually have a little clip that's kind of hidden up top, but that's where you can put your extra spring-loaded shooter. It literally fits in there perfectly. I don't think that there could be any less space, even by a millimeter, it wouldn't fit. So that works really well. I guess you could also put like the darksaber or something there, but really what the back of the box says that's for is for the spring-loaded shooter. So that's a nice storage spot for it, and it's also easily removable. That's really all there is with the interior space. I guess it's also worth noting that there is some issue with closing the interior. Depending on where you have the characters, they can actually block the whole thing from closing. So I've noticed if you have like Moff Gideon at the front here, it's a little bit tough to get it to close, well, rather impossible to get it to close all the way. You'll see it's still raised up a little bit too much versus now that it fits down flush. So that's a bit of a problem. It just kind of depends on where the characters are, how tall they are. So that's definitely a thing, but I don't think it's the end of the world. I guess it's also worth showing the underside of this top panel, just so you get an idea of how strong it is. They've got nice inverted tiles and lots of pieces to make sure it stays together, so you don't have to worry about it breaking. And I should also mention, like I said, this is a pretty strong base, so you don't have to worry about breaking through with your minifigs. I definitely had problems with that on some older Star Destroyer type sets, specifically looking at the 2006 version, but this one definitely has a stronger base there. They've built it up pretty well. Overall, this is a really well done Lego set. While I don't love the large cannons or the fact that we only get one Dark Trooper, we do get a Dark Trooper. And that is really cool. I love the Dark Trooper figure. Like I said, looks great. And Moff Gideon and Fennec Shand. I mean, sheesh. That is great to see those three figures, all exclusive to this set at $160. So definitely worth getting in at this price, I think, for those three figures, plus the build, of course. And then Cara Dune being a returning character along with the Mandalorian and the Child. Most people probably have the Mandalorian in Beskar armor or the Child, or both really, because they seem to always be paired in most sets at this point. But they are still good selling points of the set. And of course, you gotta have them in the set. You can't just omit them because they're in a bunch of other sets, in my opinion. So good to see them here, but really the focus for a lot of people is going to be these three. And I think Lego really knocked it out of the park with these three, minus the Darksaber and Fennec Shand's waist cape. Could have gone for both of those being new things. But man, this is just a wonderful set still. Looks really, really good. One that I think looks good for display, especially if you size down those cannons just a little or get rid of the spring-loaded shooters. That may have a little bit too much green for me as far as the actual design of the ship is supposed to go. But I think Lego made it look good. I think they made it playable. I think they made it strong enough. There aren't pieces constantly falling off of this thing. So overall, I think this is a solid 8.5 out of 10. And certainly maybe if you don't think 160 is worth it, if you see it on sale for 20% off, down near 130, 140. I would find it hard to pass on this, especially given that, at least currently, it's the only set you can get these 3 beautiful minifigs in. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, leave a like if you enjoyed, and you check out more of my summer 2021 LEGO Star Wars set reviews on the end screen now.